States of America. Happy Veterans Day. It is the Wrestling Inc. podcast for November 11th, 2019. I am Justin LaBar, being joined by Raj Giri and the Blueprint, Matt Morgan. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Good. What's up?
Good. That was it's kind of tough staying up, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah, we're doing this for all of you tonight. We're delivering the podcast one way or the other. You know, Monday Night Raw, maybe their writers can phone it in, but we're not going to phone it in. We are going to give you a full review of the show. Plus, we'll talk about some news items, including a WWE superstar going public asking for his release. Plus, Stone Cold Steve Austin has a brand new interview series coming to the WWE Network, and his first guest is going to be The Undertaker. We'll talk about that, and we'll also take a look at SmackDown ratings, which came out from this past Friday. SmackDown this past Friday taped in Manchester, England. Raj, tonight's Raw also taped in Manchester, England. Just real quick, general overall thoughts from tonight.
I thought it was a pretty bad show. I don't know. I thought most of it was pretty boring. The Lana Rusev stuff I thought was just cringe-worthy awful. So I was not a fan of this week's show.
Matt Morgan, you're still awake. Did you enjoy it tonight?
I like the idea behind trying to get Walter over, having him work Seth Rollins. I love the girls' match actually. That kicked off the shit. That kicked it off. But it's really about it. Was that the anonymous WWE Monday Night Raw general manager?
Yeah, pretty much. All right.
Well, maybe that anonymous GM could have given us overall a better Raw. I'll say this: I had a hard time. There's nobody in the powers to be tonight could actually thought this Raw we're going to put out there. We have a real competitive chance to have the viewership gain throughout the night. This one's going to lose hour to hour, but we'll let you be the judge of it as we go through. So we kick it off. Becky Lynch to the ring, cuts a promo, just reminding us why she is the man, Becky Lynch. This leads right into her and Charlotte up against the Kabuki Warriors. A really good match. The match actually, this was a solid way to start in terms of in-ring action. And ultimately, the Kabuki Warriors get a win, so they hold on to where they're at. And then this leads into chaos after the fact. Shayna Baszler's at ringside. She's taunting. We got Bayley comes out of nowhere. So ultimately, Bayley is the one standing tall here. So as they build to the triple threat between the women's champions. Matt, what do you think?
Shayna Baszler, a.k.a. literally the most ordinary looking woman on God's green earth, was able to come out, hop the wall, and draw so much attention that surefire first ballot Hall of Famer Charlotte Flair stopped dead in her tracks in the middle of the ring and stopped and looked at her. This is the garbage I'm talking about. I just don't see Shayna on any of their levels, quite frankly. And when I say when I'm talking about like the physical looks, I don't mean prettiness. I mean there's nothing about her that stands out like a star. If you look at the girls in the WWE Raw and SmackDown roster, if you look closely, you don't even have to look closely. They all have different color like hair. They all have like very loud colored hair. One has blue, one has purple, one has pink, one has white, one has blonde. They try to differentiate themselves, right? And that's just the super surface part of it. Their characters are very well defined. And whenever it's time for them to talk, they sound like stars, like Becky. Becky's promo tonight, great example. She reminded everybody once again her mission statement, why she's the baddest mofo walking the planet, and why we like her. And then I see Shayna come out there, and it could be, to me, it becomes so hokey. Well, Matt, somebody from a different branch shows up. You don't think it would stop? No, I don't. Not the third time. I don't think it would stop everybody dead in their tracks from a competitive match, from getting their ass handed to them, and stop and say, "Ooh, she's out here," and just stare for like 30 seconds. I'm not a fan of Shayna Baszler, in case you guys can't tell. I think she is boring.
I mean, I like how much she's improved. She's definitely putting the work in. I like that her style is different. I'm kind of with you, Matt. I don't. She doesn't grab me like a lot of the other women in NXT, like a Bianca Belair or there's a couple others, but Candice LeRae, Io Shirai. I don't know. This the invasion stuff. It's just gotten, in my opinion, it's gotten redundant. They're just doing the same thing week after week, show after show. But it is helping. I mean, their ratings were up a little bit last week. NXT, almost beating AEW.
Everything else about the invasion I love, just not her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the bell rings. Hang on. Once the bell rings in that 3-way match, cool. I don't know. That's about it, though.
Yeah, at least the invasion has an end game. At least it's building 2 Survivor Series. Matt, I can agree with some of what you're saying, but I will say, the way Shayna made her presence felt, I think it was the SmackDown when they couldn't get back from Saudi, and they kind of just
her first.
Yeah, that one came off well. I thought the pre-tape with her and Becky, I thought there was a certain.
No, that was rotten. That was terribly rotten.
You didn't like that one?
So bad. That is like, go back and watch it. That was one of the worst promos I have ever witnessed. How about that?
I thought Becky was great in that, but yeah,
Becky was money, and there was such a unevenness that it was glaring. It was so obvious.
Yeah,
one looked like freaking Roddy Piper compared to SD Jones.
Yeah. And I think with the real gripping invasion angle, you should have a good reason why they're invading. A real story, as opposed to they're just doing it just for the hell of it because they have a match coming up.
I'm gonna give it to you. Here we go. You guys are Becky Lynch. So, Becky, we finally meet. I've been waiting for a long time for this. It was horrible. I wanted to throw up and kick my TV off the thing it's on. It was horrible.
Man, just be glad
Becky somehow was able to muster anything besides laughter.
I didn't think it was that bad.
Go back, please, and watch it.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. It was the most uneven promo I've ever witnessed.
I think for Wrestling Inc. live event purposes, we could have an attraction of come watch bad promos next to Matt Morgan, at a location somewhere. Well, I'll just be glad she's not the blueprint Shayna Baszler. We're not going there.
Yeah.
All right, so we go backstage. Randy Orton.
Oh wait, did you go over the finish?
Yes.
Well, I said Kabuki Warriors won. Do we need to go?
Yeah. Well, Becky got beat, right? Becky's distracted, gets pinned by Asuka.
Yeah, she got pinned by Asuka.
He wants you to talk how this is going to transition into Asuka versus Becky.
Well, and I want to point out how pointless it was to have Asuka get submitted by Natalya last week. If that's the way they're going, she's being put in a title.
Feels like they just did it, don't you think? They feel like it just made this decision like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, you mean her losing to Natalya?
And all of it? No, and all of a sudden they do something with Asuka.
Yeah, I mean, this actually had been the plan for a while now, and
Asuka?
Yeah.
Then that makes
that makes no sense why she submitted to Natalya last week. Especially, I can see why they don't want to beat Natalya coming off of Saudi Arabia. Have her beat Kairi Singh or anyone else in the locker room. But anyway, that just made no sense to me.
Well, we move on from the opening action and we go to a backstage. We see Randy Orton and Ricochet having a back and forth talk, and then we see the OC. They're picking on Humberto. Ricochet steps in and Randy Orton steps in. We got our 6-man tag main event made for this. We can talk more about this as we go. I don't.
My forehead's slightly smaller, and I have a 5 head for the record, but I'll digress.
Clay Ford in the chat saying, "Put a wig on Matt and switch him with Shayna. Nobody will know."
You got a 5, and I'm at 6. I don't like. I like Randy Orton with the Revival. I don't like this random pairing with. I don't know. I don't. This already. I was negative towards this. What's supposed to build and anchor the show. This main event, the 6-man tag, but.
You don't like him being with what's his name though?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I don't mind if the goal is Randy Orton and this Ricochet thing is like almost Randy to try to like take him under his wing and kind of like a game, a one-upsmanship. I guess I could get behind that because it'll help put Ricochet over. But I just Randy and the Revival were just so good together, and they just abandoned that. I don't know.
I did like them together. I did, but as far as getting Ricochet to that next level, I'm more interested in that. I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hopefully Randy can do that.
Well, yeah. I mean, in-ring wise, sure, but still, when Ricochet speaks, I say it again. The guy can perform like a superhero. He talks like a stuntman. There's just no interest when he talks to me.
He really wants that to stick. So all of you at home watching, please make a
hashtag.
A hashtag, please.
Too long to hashtag that.
It is. That is a long one.
But
I
committed to the opinion, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Orton's probably turned almost as much as the Big Show now, right? Between going babyface and heel, back and forth. So,
his have meant more than Big Show's.
Yeah, but I'll admit, I thought it was intriguing, the interplay between Ricochet and Orton. And to your point, Matt, Ricochet's kind of been just scratching the surface, been at the same location, the same spot on the card for a while, and I think this Orton thing could kind of get him to that next level. So I don't know if they're gonna have them be a tag team, or just unlikely allies. I don't think they're gonna be feuding just yet, but I like it. I thought it was interesting.
And he doesn't have to be like his apprentice. He doesn't have to be his
right.
He looks up to him kind of gimmick. It could just be straight about athleticism and about wrestling or whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, up next, we get Drew McIntyre coming up in action. They don't reveal his opponent. We got to go to commercial break and hang on to find out who his opponent is. When we come back, and Drew McIntyre's opponent is Sin Cara. Tease for later in the podcast. Sin Cara has requested his release from WWE. We'll get back to that. But just keep that in mind. You have Sin Cara across the ring from Drew McIntyre. This was an old-fashioned squash match, but just stretched out. Drew McIntyre dominated this match. Vicious powerbomb on the outside.
How long was this match, do you think?
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think your traditional squash match, you think,
much shorter.
Yeah.
What was the finish?
Raj, what was Drew? He did so many big moves. He did so many big moves.
The thing I remember is that powerbomb on the outside, but I think he threw him back in and probably just hit the Claymore. It was the Claymore.
Claymore. Yep. Yeah. Well, so Drew McIntyre gets the win. I mean, Drew, obviously a guy who, we're wrapping up the calendar year here. You got to think as we go into the Road to Mania, you got to think this is a time to position Drew to do something significant because
since he's been back has been the time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I agree.
Screams money. Screams main event talent.
I agree. But, as you're watching this again, we'll talk about it later, but as you're watching this match and you say, oh, what's going to happen here? If you read the news today on Wrestling Anchor, you certainly are maybe watching a little bit closer just to see, okay, this was taped a few days ago, and now it's come out today that Sin Cara is asking for his release. What's this for? What is he asked to do in this match? And this is coming off of him doing mixed tags.
In his defense, this would be the most opportune time for him to ask for his release because he's never going to get more TV time than this. He'd been off TV forever. Now he's back. Yeah, granted, he's jobbing and losing, but he's been on WWE TV recently. Now would be the time to friggin' test those waters in AEW and see what you can get and get the hell out of WWE.
Well, and I'll say he's an interesting situation, and we'll get back to terms of
his contract's not up or something.
Yeah, he's got years on his contract. Supposedly he's got like 3 years. WWE's not going to release him.
Plus, he's a guy who plays a masked character. So if he was to show up on AEW tomorrow, most people wouldn't know who the hell he even is. It's a masked character, which is good for WWE also. Yeah. So we'll get back to that. Stay tuned on the podcast for us. We'll go back.
Yeah, and this is the second Sin Cara. The first one was already gone. Mystico.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, we get a backstage promo. Eric Rowan. The camera view is the camera looks like it's inside of a cage. It looks like it's in some kind of a cage, and Eric Rowan is baby talking to the camera inside this cage. Compelling stuff, I know. We'll get back to that as well. All right, 1-on-2 handicap match, 24/7 title, R-Truth versus Singh Brothers. Raj, is this the first time the 24/7 title has been contested in like a contested in like a formal match where we had like entrances and everything?
That's the first one I can remember, right? I'm sure someone in the chat will correct us if we're wrong, but
like it's first night, maybe, I think.
Yeah,
there was 1 week where they did a match. Remember, everyone like piled on, and then Mike Kanellis snuck out. So I'm forgetting who it was. It was like R-Truth and Drake Maverick or someone. But
what about the one when Truth was hiding under the underside of the table?
That happened, I think, during like a main event, like that table, and he was under. That was probably the best thing in the whole 24/7.
Of course, it's when it happened during a main event.
I gotta say, we're in the second week of November. 24/7 title started like June?
Yeah.
I did not expect it to last this long. I'll be honest. I lost some money. Nick Housen and I made a bet, and I lost some money that it would not make it through Labor Day, and here we are, into November, almost Thanksgiving, and it's still around.
Yeah, it's worn out its welcome in my opinion. I mean, Raw is going to get squashed in the ratings this week. That Seattle 49ers game it's going to overtime right now. So it was a tight game, two of the top teams in the league, and so it's going to get it's going to be the lowest rated Raw I think ever. Definitely non-holiday.
Two of the best quarterbacks too, or top 5 for sure.
Raj is sweating over his fantasy team for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, but anyway.
Got that wrestling money on the line. All right, so we get this the Singh brothers up against R-Truth. A lot of comedy here. They play like this cat and mouse game around the ring. They run to the backstage. Truth chases them down. The Singh brothers, they go into a dressing room. The lights are out. It turns out it's Eric Rowan's sanctuary. I don't. There was no like real finale to this, right? I mean, like he beats the brothers up, and then R-Truth just kind of peacefully leaves.
Turns off the light, like it's gonna get freaky in there.
Right.
This was like Heidenreich and Michael Cole. You remember that?
Oh my god.
Yeah. With Eric Rowan, they keep trying. I thought they finally had something with him and Daniel Bryan, and now he's kind of back to where he was, like having a tough time finding that right character that connects. I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know what's in the cage, if it's rats or something like that.
Do you see why this is a good example? Do you see why it's much? People always think a bigger guy has it easier in this business. And this is an example of why they don't. Because once one character doesn't take, it's very difficult to get that character out of your head because the person is so goddamn big that you can't take your eyes off of them and you can't help but remember what we'd seen them last as. Do you know what I'm saying? So you're reminded, like you just brought up the Daniel Bryan one. Some others might bring up the Bludgeon Brothers. Some others might get recollections of the what do you call it? The Bray Wyatt posse brothers, whatever the hell they're called.
The Wyatt family.
Yeah, the Wyatt family. It's harder to, in my opinion, to re-character a big guy. Kane is like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the one time in which it really worked. Luckily.
And he had to be he was repackaged a couple times because he was a dentist. He was fake Diesel. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Rowan. I mean, and to Rowan's, when Rowan came in with the original Wyatt family, Rowan was the weak link. You had Harper who was very seasoned on the Indies.
Braun was at first, honestly.
No, Braun. I mean the original. I mean the original three: Bray, Harper, and Eric. Rowan was the weak link out of the. Yeah, when Braun came, sure he was. I mean Braun had like less than 20 matches in NXT,
and not by much,
and none of them were on TV.
Not by much. He wasn't the weak link by much. I think Rowan. I thought he had better size than Luke Harper, even though Luke Harper was the better worker of the two, and we all knew who Luke was because he wrestled on the Indies. But I always thought Eric had better size to him, and honestly, I thought he had a better look overall too. If saying you don't know either one of those two guys,
yeah. Well, fair enough. Well,
drop the ball again.
We'll get back to some Eric Rowan here in a little bit. So we go to Seth Rollins. He comes in the ring, cuts a promo, just kind of basically rehashing what has happened with Triple H confronting him and the whole, you're either with us or against us. Basically lays down a challenge. He wants the best that the UK has. He wants the best that Manchester has. And out comes Walter along with Imperium. And so we get a Walter versus Seth Rollins match. This was intriguing to me. I will admit, I had read that this was going to happen prior to watching tonight, and this was certainly something that I had made a point to make sure I was in front of the TV with no distractions because this is the fresh matchup.
What was the finish of the match?
They went to a DQ, I believe, because Imperium came in and attacked. Rollins was getting ready to do the
curb stomp.
And I think the Imperium came in, attacked him. Then we get the Street Profits coming out. We get Kevin Owens. And now where's Teddy Long to go ahead and make us an 8-man tag match here between Imperium and these four. I mean, again, overall interesting in the ring. Fresh matchups. These are guys. These are combinations we don't see regularly. So that is an attraction here. But that's about it.
All right. Well, really quick. Walter's not from England. He's from Austria.
Right.
The fans did not react to him, is what I heard, and it was definitely piped in because it was on record. It was on replay, rather. That's what I had heard. But I was ecstatic for his opportunity, though, versus Seth Rollins. And I thought he had a good showing.
Yeah, I think he did great with Seth. I think they're.
I can't help but watch him sometimes and go, there ain't no way in hell that dude wouldn't even be signed to a developmental contract back in 2004. I mean, dead serious.
Because of his body? Because of his body?
Yeah.
A couple things real quick. First, that Seth Rollins promo was heavily edited. This Rollins was booed out of the building at the Stage Banks.
I was going to say, Matt was bringing up piped in sound. I was going to say, I think that happened too here.
And you could tell, like on commentary, they're like, "Oh, this is Bizarre World," but it's like muted, so you can't really hear the boos on on TV. But you could tell, like, there's a loud reaction going on in the crowd, and they're not playing it. But
they need to just let it happen, man. If that's the way the fans are turning, dude, this is where WWE's got to be smart and say, are we really doing that much with him at the top? Not really.
Yeah.
Let's listen to our fans for once and let's do something right with him.
And not to mention, why not? It makes the show feel a lot more alive to have the crowd just going crazy, even if they are booing your boy. Yeah. But it just makes the show feel a lot more lively.
It does.
As opposed to quiet. I mean, otherwise, it makes it sound like the fans don't care.
I think this is a case, and this is me speculating, but I think this is a case probably with Seth of a Vince McMahon stubbornness. Think about it. The WWE has put a lot of stock behind Seth. Look, this guy has beaten Brock Lesnar at a WrestleMania. I think this is a case of Seth's going to be our babyface, right? He's going to be our baby, especially when Roman disappeared this time last year to deal with the cancer. I think there was. Seth's going to be our guy. He's our guy, and the fans have revolted against that. And I think there's probably a stubbornness of a resistance to accepting that. They should, but for Vince, I think there's probably a stubbornness.
You think, John? Yeah, is that what you think? No,
yes.
Yes, definitely, that's what's happening here. And he does it time and time again, and never learns his damn lesson, though. And it hurts their bottom line because you're pushing a guy at your top that the people are not paying money to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with Walter. He does kind of look like Kozlov now that I think of it.
Yeah, that is.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Walter because he has said he does not want to move to the U.S. He's only interested in NXT UK. He's not interested.
He said that?
Yeah.
That's over with, man. I like that.
Yeah. So we may never really see him on the main roster. Or is NXT the main roster too there, Justin?
It is the main roster. It is
NXT UK is?
Well, NXT, at least in the States, is the main roster. I can see Walter saying, "Screw you and your Orlando living. I'm not going to Orlando."
Yeah.
Screw you and your Mickey Mouse.
Walter looked good. I mean, he looked like he kind of reminded me of Brock Lesnar as far as his ring work. Like the big guy tossing him around. Not appearance, obviously, but as far as with the Germans,
you're offending Matt.
Yeah, I don't mean appearance. No, I mean Brock is one in a million, but. Just as far as throwing, Seth around and doing the Germans and things like that. Just that bullyish, dominating big guy. Yeah.
I don't know. I still say this about Walter. Walter still, when you watch him, when he has to find TV cues and commands and he's watching his eyes are darting around. He looks so lost. That's the one thing that takes me out of it. I watch, maybe I'm watching too closely and I'm picking on him, but I can tell still live TV he's uncomfortable with.
Imperium. I mean, they're really good in the ring. They're great in the ring. But just looking at them as a group, it's just bland.
But two of them, I don't even know who they are. I know Walter and I know Wolf.
I'm sorry, Justin. That was a good catch, by the way. Of being able to watch him he checks the screen a lot to see where he's at. On the Titantron, he looks at it often, and he misses his cues on the hard cam. Really quick though. Do you think that they're more generic looking as a group, Raj, than the Undisputed? Vanilla?
Glenn is the one that really thinks they look
I do too.
bland. I think Adam, because Adam Cole is in there, I think that makes them stand out enough.
Mine is him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Imperium looks more bland than those guys. Yeah, Fabian Eichner, Justin, you were asking who the other two, and Marcel, and also Alexander Wolf, who was Insanity.
I know him. It's the other two guys I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're good in the ring. If that's enough to do it for you, they're good in the ring.
I don't think they have to be. They just need to be 4 dudes with Walter. There's 3 guys with Walter. He has his own group. He looks bigger than the rest of them.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember the Truth Commission back in the day?
Of course.
Yeah, with Kurgan, and so Walter's kind of like the Kurgan. I mean, these guys are obviously a lot better, but
Yeah.
Hey, Kurgan went on to Sherlock Holmes, right?
he did. Didn't he fight Brad Pitt in some movie?
That was Nathan.
Or that's Nathan Jones. Yeah.
He fought Robert Downey
He
Jr.
was in 300 too.
Right. Yep.
Apart from me.
Oh,
Well-known fact.
I did not know that.
Put it on your IMDb.
That I got. Yeah.
Wait, how did he take it from you? Like, were you both just competing for the same part?
Rick Bassman told me that they were looking to cast a wrestler in some role for 300. I was in Japan, and I just got New Japan to agree to let me come back home to go to the U.S. to fit for some costume they were going to have to fit me for. And then before I left Japan, he calls me back and says, "Oh, they gave it to so-and-so."
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and it was him, whatever his real name is.
Yeah. Well, screw him.
All right, so keep on going here. We got Cedric Alexander versus Andrade. Again, 2 very athletic guys here. A good match for what it was. Wasn't too long. Andrade ultimately gets the win, hits the hammerlock DDT for the pin. So Andrade gets a win. Obviously, Andrade coming off of some wins against Cara in some mixed tag action in the previous weeks.
Sure, as long as he's getting W's.
Yeah. Andrade's another one. It's been stop it. They start with him, then they stop with him, and they go back with him. It's like the momentum is just never there.
He's not as bad as the others, though, like Cedric Alexander, like Ricochet, like the others where they do 50-50 booking.
Yeah.
And this guy seems to continue to win for the most part. He lost to Ray.
And he has the nice, which that's Ray. And Andrade has a nice, he has Zelina Vega in a time where we don't have a lot of managers or anything, and we haven't. When she can cut a decent soundbite promo, and she can do some spots, so that's a nice, that's a nice presentation. I think with them.
I think they like him more than the rest of them, honestly.
Yeah. And Andrade, to your point, Matt, when he does lose his push, like they start pushing him, then it's not like they're beating him every week after that. He just disappears for a while. He's like not on TV. So he hasn't been damaged as much as a lot of other guys. Like Humberto Carrillo, who we'll get to. Yeah. Who's already been damaged. It's been 3 weeks, even though he got the win tonight.
I think we said after a second loss, it felt like it already. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned Zelina Vega. Let's transition into her real-life husband, Aleister Black. We get another backstage promo from him. More of the same riddle and rhyme of, you know who you are, you know what you've done, come knock on my door, pick a fight. Aleister Black, to me, is one of the most interesting characters in terms of the presentation, his entrance, the way he rises up, the music. He works physical, but I don't know what it is. Raj, is he injured? Thought I heard maybe he's injured. Is that what
yeah, he has been injured. Let me. I think he's about. I think it's not too bad. He should be back soon.
He's another one like Drew. Like pull the trigger. Do something here.
Yeah, I agree with you on him. He's awesome.
Yeah. So Aleister Black. So to be continued. And then we get to what might be the most controversial. It has been, I guess, the most controversial. I know I haven't been on here for post Raws in a while with you guys. Lana coming out to cut a promo. Now, this is another one. This is a tape show. A lot of social media video had surfaced about how bad this segment was in terms of the live reaction and boos. I'll try to sum this up so I don't go on forever. Lana basically just continues to come out, talks. there's an over-under how many times she said sex. I think she said sex 20 times about how she had sex with Bobby Lashley 7 weeks ago. This is their sex anniversary. This is their sex anniversary. She cheated on Rusev, she admits, but Rusev also cheated on her. She's also 9 weeks pregnant, but it was 7 weeks. But it was 7 weeks ago she had sex with Bobby Lashley. She keeps saying Bobby Lashley, Bobby Lashley. Credit to Renee Young for tweeting. We all refer to our significant others by first name or by full name. So Bobby Lashley, Bobby Lashley. Rusev comes out. Rusev comes out, just kind of questions Lana. Lana's slapping him. She's jumping on his back. Bobby Lashley comes out. Lashley's bitch slapping Rusev, choke slams him. And then the subtlest thing. This did not get picked up by the fans who sent us video. As Lana and Lashley are making out at the entranceway to end the segment, Lana actually says to the camera, "I faked this whole pregnancy." So she's not pregnant, supposedly.
Yeah.
Are you guys with me? Matt, are you with me?
No.
Oh my God.
This is terrible. I really like Lana. I think she's got a ton of charisma and everything, but I thought her stuff was just terrible tonight. The stuff that they gave her, I don't know who could pull it off, but it was this. Everything about this was
Maria
just
sure
shit.
Chinola could pull that off. Maria.
We still don't know the father of Maria's baby. It's not money.
Yeah, Maria's money.
Yeah.
I like Maria, but we never got the answer to that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this was just horse shit. It was hard to watch.
We shouldn't even be talking about it. It was that bad.
This is one of those, if your wife walked in, she'd be like, why do you watch this shit?
Like, seriously, what the soap opera, Matt? This is this Ryan. You can watch a really bad soap opera and still be more entertained than this.
I mean, do we have to give some credit to the three of them for like at least keeping a straight face, trying the hardest to like. They're given this. They're being given this, and they're having to go out there and live. This is live.
It's their job. I went out there and stuttered. Okay,
I know. Matt, that's a far cry for being out there with your real life spouse and trying to sell this.
Not when you meet your spouse in the business, and that could always be an option. It's not like he was a WWE superstar, brought his wife into the business, and that's how she became a star. They met as two single superstars. Big difference. That means all bets are off. If you're going to be, yes.
Did they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That all bets are off when you meet your significant other as a WWE superstar to WWE superstar, and know that they're going to throw that F ball at you some way, some other down the line, one way or the other. Rather, I mean, they always do. They always screw it with married couples usually. And even dating couples. They haven't in a while, but this is...
Yeah, they've actually seemed like they've actually made it easier on dating couples, putting couples on the same brand. There was a time where they were trying to separate everybody. Now they're putting them on the same brands.
Yeah. But you ever notice when it's like they're really uneven, and I hate to say that, but like Mark Marrow and Sable, for example, like you hate to say that about anybody, but when like the girl is really... Come on, 1,000 times better than what the guy is, usually, generally speaking, in Vince McMahon's eyes. That's usually the couple that gets messed with. I think it's so screwed up.
Yeah.
Kidman?
They did that with like Lita and Matt Hardy.
Well, I was going to say, prior to that, I know they weren't dating, but I always think about just imagine if Lita had dated S.A. Rios. Anybody remember that name?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. She got him over with me. I used to want to watch his matches on Sunday Night Heat so I could see her do her gimmick at the end of the match.
Thong hanging out.
Yeah. No, WWE, they tried doing that with Del Rio and Paige as well, like splitting them up on different brands. And
well, that relationship needed broken up.
Yeah, well, I mean,
clearly,
but you do see it where it definitely seems like they're trying to force a split.
Another thing, Justin, they're paying him a shitload of money to shut up and act.
Yeah. No, what Raj said, Lana has tremendous charisma. She's one of those. She's one of those ones. I'm like they could. I mean, she has some mainstream appeal, modeling, a little bit of acting.
She has tons. Did you see the backstage segment when Rock was in Miami and he was walking around backstage? He just came to his truck. Dude, she played that perfect.
Yeah, and Rusev has got his own charm and talent. I mean,
he does. I don't know what it's with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Can you watching this and just thinking to myself, like WWE was actually trying to get an Emmy nomination last year. You remember that?
Wait, what? No, I didn't know that. What?
Yeah, they were lobbying to get an Emmy nomination, and they were going through all the steps that you got to go through to make it on the list.
You can't be serious.
Yeah.
And they've tried several times to like screw with. I mean, look, think about how much controversy Rusev and Lana and storyline have gone through. We've seen Rusev with Summer Rae. We've seen Lana with Dolph Ziggler. We've seen they've broken up and gotten back together in storyline so many times in a short period. It's. I mean, Matt's right. They're just screwing with them at this point. It's kind of.
And Bobby, this is the complete polar opposite of who this guy is in real life. Bobby's probably trying to kill himself after every segment. He hates this type of shit. Like as a fan, he hated this type of crap. Like he never liked the entertainment portion of wrestling. He liked like the matches, the Benoit versus, let's say, Kurt Angle match, like that. That's Bobby's like 5-star match to go watch and talk about. Rant rave, never shut up about. Do you know what I mean? As a fan, so I know this is killing him.
Well, on Veterans Day, where we celebrate and honor those who have fought for the country, and Bobby Lashley, a former Army, having to be put through
this badass who could probably kill us all in 10 different ways with his bare hand.
Right. Right. All right. So we get Eric Rowan comes to the ring with his cage, his mysterious cage. What's in the cage? He sets it next to Vic and King at commentary. They're selling the mysterious cage and what's in it, what's moving in it. He makes quick work out of, I don't know who this guy is, Soner Durson,
something,
whatever.
Give him somebody decent, but go ahead. Sorry,
whatever. Yeah, this was truly a traditional squash match. Rowan gets the win here, goes back, grabs his cage. So that's the next hook now with Eric. First it was Eric Rowan. Did he or did he not try to murder Roman Reigns? Now it is Eric Rowan. What is his pet in the cage? Thrilling.
Yeah.
Any spoilers on this, Raj? Do we know?
I know. I was guessing like rats or something like that. You remember how Bad News Brown had him before that SummerSlam match? He had the sewer rats.
Oh yeah.
I thought that'd be kind of cool if they brought that back.
That's the first time I have thought about that literally. That's cool. Good call.
Yeah, that's actually the first time I've thought about it in a long time as well. But yeah,
everybody else's stuff I always remember though. Until Damien, everything.
I figure I got to get in at least 3 or 4 80s and 90s wrestling references on the show.
It's the best. That's why.
Didn't you have a special delivery Jones earlier already?
Yeah. Well, so here's my question. I know we like squash matches when they're done the right way, but like for Rowan, why not just give him, I don't know, a middle card person to squash? What's so hard about that?
Give him Humberto Carrillo. Everyone's been beating him anyway.
Well, Raj, when they taped this, did they have the entire roster with them, or was the other?
Yeah, they had the whole. They taped Raw and SmackDown together, so it was back to back, same arena. Yeah.
Wait, they did Raw and SmackDown back to back?
Yeah.
Oh my God! So
you
got to see both?
Yep. And you think
I'd be going crazy for the record,
yeah, absolutely. But now 5 hours at least to sit there, and you think that's bad? Over Christmas, they cancel that one Raw taping, and they're going to do a double taping. So that's 6 hours of Raw for the people that attend that night next month.
And you know what's tough though? Like with they tape things out, they put things out of order too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, so that's tough to watch.
I think they did that tonight. I think the Lana Rusev stuff was the last thing on the show that they taped, but they rearranged it. Yeah, and on SmackDown, Tyson Fury was the last thing that they taped, but then the final version, they moved it to earlier in the show.
Which you would think. Wait, live was the actual live thing with Tyson Fury? Was that last?
Yeah.
In the arena, I mean.
No, well, it was last before they on SmackDown, and then they started filming Raw after that.
That's about right.
Yeah.
I do think that he would have drawn more interest and pop than what he did.
So wait, Raj, you're telling me that after the 5 hours of that crowd sitting there, the very last thing they saw for TV was having to sit through the Lana soap opera thing?
Yep. And then they had a Bray Wyatt Seth Rollins dark match, or not Bray Wyatt and I think it was the Miz actually, but yeah.
My God, you sat through all that, and then you're gonna.
Yeah.
They should have had the Fiend come out and interrupt Lana and Lashley's makeout session.
The biggest pop ever.
Yeah. All right, so we get the Viking Raiders, the Raw Tag Team Champions Viking Raiders, up against. This is kind of cool, kind of a way to showcase some NXT UK talent in Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews. If you haven't seen Raw, if you didn't see this match, go back and check this out. This is actually kind of, the little bit of shine and time they gave Webster and Andrews. They made the most of it. At the end of the day, the Viking Raiders still get the win here, but this was a little bit different than the typical Viking Raiders squash match.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews, you guys recognize him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was
TNA.
Yeah.
This was
Andrews.
Is that his name?
He went by that in TNA, Mandrews, but
he's good, obviously, but this was not your typical squash, and it's a good example of another talent being able to get over while still losing. I thought those guys got over a little bit tonight.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, this was a good use of short but sweet TV time. Viking Raiders keep on going; they're still champions, but as we said, did not completely bury or dismiss Flash or Andrews. All right, so finally we get to the main event. Ultimately, after they do some hard selling for Survivor Series in the matches, but we get right to the main event: Randy Orton, Ricochet, and Humberto Carrillo versus the OC. Again, this was entertaining. I mean, all six of these guys. I mean, Humberto gets some serious air. He's got a lot of athleticism, as does Ricochet. Randy Orton's one of the best ever. OC knows their way around. They're playing off the whole time. Ricochet and Randy Orton having their tension. But ultimately, we get Humberto gets the pin on a decent, more than decent, a very impressive moonsault onto AJ. He gets the pin, so the babyfaces stand tall. Randy Orton again teasing a Ricochet that at any time I can RKO and I can take control of things. But this is ultimately how Raw goes off the air. Matt, what did you think of this for a main event tonight?
Another example why AJ Styles is the MVP of this whole company. I'm being dead serious. He can lose matches like this and get somebody else over and be perfectly straight the next week. No big deal. He's that good right now. He's that on fire. And again, I can't believe I'm saying that about him as a heel. Because I will reiterate again, I never thought he had this in him as a heel. Face all damn day. He's a hood ornament for any company. I'd be lucky enough to sign him, I always thought. Even WWE. But never as a heel I saw this. So, again, kudos to him. We said this a few weeks ago. Like, AJ should have been beat. And he could have taken that loss. And it was a singles match, I remember, versus this guy, versus Humberto. Can I say it?
Humberto Carrillo.
Remember, I was like, he could have easily just let the kid win. It wouldn't hurt AJ one bit. And tonight, it didn't hurt AJ. The OC, they are milking all three of them right now pretty darn hard and working them really hard and utilizing them all across the board, which is cool to see. I like seeing the Gallows and Anderson utilized more.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Humberto, he did his cool moves. I like the story between Ricochet and Orton. Again, it makes Ricochet look like a bigger deal. Orton is great in this role. AJ's awesome. So I thought this match was good. Matt, to your point, so apparently last week, Humberto was supposed to pin AJ, but they changed it because the OC was going to be on NXT and they didn't want them losing before going on NXT, so they changed it. But I think it's just one loss too many for Humberto to where it feels like they beat the stardom out of him, and it's going to be tough to get that back.
He was new. He was hot and hot, new, and exciting kind of character or whatever.
Yeah. Humberto is super athletic in the ring, and I know he comes from a wrestling family, but they still haven't found what he is. He's coming out to like hip hop kind of music. He looks like a Power Ranger. He's got the dimples. Like nothing quite fits with anything in his presentation.
He's a squeaky clean looking baby face that can do a lot of cool shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those guys work best as heels when they got the squeaky looking baby face look, because today's audience, it doesn't necessarily fly all the time.
Daniel Bryan, AJ, yeah, you're right.
Sammy Guevara in AEW.
Oh, him all day, yeah. He's a great one already. And I hated Sammy Guevara at first. I hated that panda. But
all right, so there's your Monday Night Raw. So, Raj, you're saying it's probably going to be one of the lowest rated ever non-holidays?
I mean, this game is still going. It's an overtime. It's a close game between two top teams. It's going to be, I think it's either going to be right around 2 or under 2 million, maybe even 1.8, 1.9 was the prediction I had on Twitter. It's going to be a bad one, but it's really because of this game, and it just felt like they weren't bringing out the big guns tonight.
Plus, we all knew it was taped too, right? Does that not account for anything anymore? People not wanting to tune in because it's taped, or no?
It's weird. The ratings usually are not that different from when they tape to when they don't. Like SmackDown was taped, so anyone could have read the results earlier in the day, and their rating was up from the week before. So yeah, I think if you did a tape show every week, it would affect it. But I think once in a while, people just don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and not for tonight's show, but sometimes if you tape a show, I mean, they've had a few times where they've done like title changes or something in England. Like sometimes if there's a tape show and you read about it and you read something significance happened, now it's like, okay, now I want to see how they did it.
Yeah, AJ beat Jinder that one time for the title.
Right. The bad part is tonight when I read what I read was going to happen tonight, I was like, I'm tuning in for the wrong reasons. I'm tuning in. Did Seth get booed as loud as the live video? Was the Lana segment as bad?
It can't be that bad, can it?
Right. It's like the car crash couldn't have been the cars, could it?
Rubbernecking, watching TV. Yes.
Yeah.
Matt, any final thoughts on Raw before we hit the news real quick?
There you go.
All right. So we teased it on the top of the show. Definitely one of the top stories today, maybe the top. Raj can clarify that in a second here. Sin Cara, and mind you, this is the second iteration of the Sin Cara character since 2010, 2011 with WWE.
Second what?
He's the second person to play the character.
Yeah.
This particular person. He is going on.
He was Hunico before that.
Correct. He went on to social media and put a long statement basically talking about how he's appreciative of the opportunities, but he thinks it's time for him to move on, not feeling like he's basically being used to the fullest.
He still has time left on his contract. He doesn't get to say this.
PW Insider's reporting that he's got 3 years.
He can't say this.
He had just recently re-signed. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Same with Mike Kanellis, who requested his release.
Do this.
Yeah.
You know what they're probably going to do? They're probably going to add on time to his contract for the time he was out for injury.
Shut your mouth, get through your deal and bounce.
Well,
I know you got to finish this.
No, that's basically the gist here. Well, it's believed that they're not going to let him out of his contract. Surprise.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. But to be fair, WWE cuts us whenever the hell they want. Every 90-day period, they have the right to release any one of us at any given time within the night. Every 90 days.
Well, just look at what happened with Luke Harper
and not honor their contract.
Yeah.
So it's good for the goose, maybe it's good for the gander. You know what?
Yeah.
They just can't get out of it though.
Right. So you remember Carolina was here with Sin Cara a few weeks ago, and then they beat her in her first appearance, and then they beat her again the next week. And she's already gone, so that was just like a 3-week deal. She's back in NXT. She's off the main roster. Yeah,
good.
But it was just a 3-week deal, just to kind of help Zelina and Andrade. But so Sin Cara, maybe Sin Cara thought that was the beginning of a push or something.
Right.
Like he's finally getting something.
That's what I figured.
Yeah,
he's healthy. He's brought back to TV. He's getting on TV for a few weeks, going up against Andrade and Zelina. And then, Friday when they tape this, you're going to go out and you're going to be squashed by Drew. And then he goes, okay, I can see where my future is. My future is there's nothing's happening here. But the one thing I'll say, Harper, Kanellis, we've seen several different, and there's other ones that have publicly requested their release. And up to this point, the revival, and the WWE has not given in to any of those.
No,
but the difference, they're not going to start. But the one thing I will say when I heard this one is, you're not going to let Luke Harper go, because then if he can show up the next week or even after his non-compete, even if he can't be called Luke Harper, he's a very distinguished look. He can be of value to another wrestling company. For the fact that this person has been under a mask, nobody remembers really what Hunico looked like. He's been under this mask for 5-6 years. He could show up somewhere else, and he doesn't bring that instant. Oh boy! And you could throw anybody else under the. I mean, Sin Cara could be this era's Doink. We could have Sin Cara around for 30 more years, and there could be 5 different people under the mask. I don't know why you need to. If you have a Rey Mysterio and you have some other mask guys, Lince Dorado, the Sin Cara gimmick to me just retired. It's not. It's. But that was the one thing I thought. This guy had one possible advantage: the fact that he's under a mask. He's not as big of a liability to let go.
But here's the only thing with that, though, is once you go public on Twitter and you're asking, and then if they grant it, then everyone's going to feel like that's
exactly. And that's what Matt was saying. They're not going to give it to him, and I get that. WWE has to hold their ground here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he went and just tried to talk to Vince and request his release that way, maybe he would have gotten it. But by doing it this way, and I agree with WWE on this. You know, you don't want people going on social media saying they want out. So, I think it's a dumb move, and especially when you've already seen what happened to Luke Harper.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So speaking of guys and their release and changing companies, Jake Hager, now with AEW, formerly known as Jack Swagger in WWE, he took to social media to tell Rusev to leave her, meaning her as in Lana, leave her and that asshole company. # I'm with AEW. This coming after Rusev responding to a fan talking about Rusev's current booking in the soap opera storyline. So Jake Hager telling Rusev to get the hell out of there and leave his wife, apparently.
Rusev ain't doing nothing for AEW. No offense.
Yeah, I mean, I know all these people who are asking to be released who want to go elsewhere. Look, AEW is not going to just hire a bunch of WWE.
I hope not.
Rejects. I just wouldn't. I think that'd be a bad move on their part. You don't want to look like that company that you'll just take whoever doesn't make it in WWE. It's good to have some familiar faces, but you don't want a ton of them. So, you got
to get more established first before they start doing that. Because what I always thought the ultimate FU to WWE is taking one of their guys that the WWE could not get over, and then that company brings them in and does something with them much bigger and does help get them get over. I think it's the ultimate checkmate that they're a better company, better. Well, I don't want to say writers; they don't have writers, but like TNA, for example. But TNA went way too fast with everybody. If you had WWE in your name, they signed you. Yeah. They went way too hard and heavy.
Damian Sandow, remember that? They put him in like the main event for his first week out. They had him like coming out, and
that's just a random pick you made there. Yeah, that's so many.
Yeah.
I was one. I got signed because of it too, but I was able to turn it around, thank God, and be utilized that company a hell of a lot better than I was in WWE. But AEW needs to first put in time of building their own brand and very carefully selecting who they bring into their company that was former WWE. And once they hit, that 2 or 3 year threshold, then okay, you can bring in guys and rebrand them to your brand and your likeness and how you want them to be booked if they were with WWE. But they need to continue to try to be themselves and be that different company.
Yeah, I mean, AEW, they almost have to expand to having a second weekly show before they can even think about adding more roster, expanding the roster. And Raj, didn't Cody have a quote in one of the many interviews he's done in media that like something like 70%, like 70% of WWE's roster wouldn't make it in AEW or 80%, like some number he threw out of like saying like there's a very select few in WWE he'd even consider.
Was it him or Jericho? That sounds like something Jericho would say.
Maybe it was. I feel like one of them said something to that effect, like,
I'm forgetting that exact quote, but I know Jericho the other day said that they're not hiring right now. They're not really looking for any more new guys.
Good, they should be saying that.
Actually, you're right. You're right. I think it was Jericho who said something to that effect. I think what I'm thinking of, Cody said at one point that only like 50% of the AEW roster has been revealed, and this was a couple months ago. Like we hadn't seen more guys yet. So
this makes them sound much more major league and bigger time than they really are. That's smart marketing.
Yeah.
And talk about smart marketing. This gets me going as a Stone Cold Mark. Stone Cold Steve Austin has a new interview series. Obviously, Austin, one of the best ever in pro wrestling. He's become one of the best interviewers. He's like the Howard Stern of wrestler interviews. He can just get things out of people. A new series called Steve Austin, The Broken Skull Sessions, premiering on November 24th. That is the night of Survivor Series on the WWE Network. It's going to air on the network after Survivor Series and approximately 10:30. And his first guest will be The Undertaker. And actually, even in the notes, Variety.com, they broke the story, I guess. They kind of noted that in the interview series, it's a, quote, rare long-form interview with Mark Calloway. So talking about it's the man behind the gimmick. And so obviously Matt can speak to this. The Undertaker, one of the most protected gimmicks of all time. But the man behind the Undertaker going to sit down with Stone Cold and shoot the breeze.
He should be ready. He's done enough of them with his pastor from his church. I've seen tons of those online.
Yeah.
And I was actually really shocked to even see that. But that means he's at a good place in his life where he is comfortable finally, coming out from behind the most protected gimmick of all time. Thank God he did that. He gave us all these years of entertainment because he was willing to do that. During the Attitude Era, he changed his character so he could be a little bit, American badass and fit with the times, but then go back to everybody's favorite Undertaker incarnation. And think about it, at a time where nobody believed that garbage or any phony baloney, magical power crap. But with him, we did, because we all wanted to. We all suspended our disbelief again. I was there at WrestleMania 20 watching him and Kane go over their match and watching it like a friggin' hawk, and from that moment on, he became Undertaker again, the old school Undertaker, with Paul Bearer and everything. And he did such a good job of protecting that at a time when it wasn't cool to be overly protective of your gimmick like that. Think about it. No social media, didn't do any of that crap. He was so down to protect that character.
Yeah, the only time they dropped their guard was when he was the American Badass, and that was the only time I ever really saw him do many interviews.
A couple things was a Canadian show too.
Yeah, off the record with that's a great interview.
That guy's an annoying host. There's no way I could get to an interview with him.
He always protected the character. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but there it once was. There was some stuff on YouTube from like mid 90s, like 95, 96 of like Undertaker. It was somewhere in New England. I want to say like the Boston area, of him being on like a nightly sports show. It was like one of those nightly local like call-in sports shows. So they had him and maybe Paul Bearer sitting there having to like do the old, we're here with WWF superstar The Undertaker. They're coming to the Boston Garden. And they took questions. He stayed in character. He never ever, broke out of it, but he in full gear had to stay in character, try to put over the business. It's a very rare piece of video. It was like this nightly sports call-in show in Boston or Providence or somewhere up there. But yeah, it's amazing. All these years he doesn't do podcasts. He hasn't done conventions, at least largely hasn't done a lot of conventions.
I mean, think about this: when when something tragic would happen, when a wrestler passed away, they wouldn't have Undertaker out there standing with the rest of the talent. That's how much they were protecting that character.
Again, I'll go back to WrestleMania 20 at the Hall of Fame. Taker was not there.
Yeah,
like so many cool things. Not cool. I don't know if they're really cool, but so many different things he would not go to. Yeah, to protect that character. That's.
Speaking of the Hall of Fame, I've always said this. Obviously, you look at guys who still need to go in the Hall of Fame. The Rock's not in, Cena's not in, Taker's not in, Orton's not in, Triple H is not in. The year they finally put Undertaker in, and if I will pay any amount of money to be there live to hear that speech. Yeah. If he wants to talk on, like, who better could give a speech of a career than that guy? I mean, that to me, that's like the most intriguing Hall of Fame thing that's left at this point.
Yeah,
that's cool.
All right, Raj, you got anything else?
Just real quick, SmackDown did an average of 2.61 million viewers. It was up 3.6% from last week. Down a lot from what Fox was doing last year. Fox down 25% from what Fox was doing last year. But in the demo, the 18 to 49, it's a little down from what Fox was doing last year.
What was Fox doing last year, and what was the show?
Okay, so Fox was doing... they were doing 4.5 million viewers last year with Last Man Standing, The Cool Kids, and Hell's Kitchen. So that was the block. And so,
what's not fair about that is those are all different shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just for that time slot, that's what they were doing before.
Wow.
And yeah, again, right now it's not going to be as well, but in the summer, WWE destroys, whatever Fox has on, Friday nights in the summer with their rerun. So
Hell's Kitchen for 2 hours would never do that number. No way.
yeah, right. But Hell's Kitchen, yeah, and it had a strong lead in. But Hell's Kitchen last year in the second hour, SmackDown second hour, it did. Let me look here. It did something like similar to what SmackDown did. It was like 2.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about the Austin Undertaker show. I think that first one is going to do big on the network. And then we're seeing just so much programming now. It's hard to keep track, and stuff is falling off after the first one. Whether it's Power, AEW Dark, anything.
But this is good for the WWE Network, because once they moved NXT to USA, NXT was the biggest network-only commodity you got every single week.
Yeah.
And so when you lost that with NXT on USA, they need some things that are weekly on the network that you can only get on the network. So this is.
I'm still watching Power over those.
Yeah, no, I agree. One last thing, they did announce the 5 versus 5 versus 5 NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown men's match, and it's going to be Seth Rollins, Randy Orton, Ricochet, Kevin Owens, and Drew McIntyre against 5 NXT stars against 5 SmackDown stars. So
that's a good friggin' Raw 5-man team.
Yeah, it's loaded. Again, I wish there were some stakes or something, because ultimately it's just a 5-man elimination match.
And look, can I just say, if there's ever going to be a time, all these rumors of him talking about coming back, it's in Chicago, Survivor Series. If there's ever a time, put CM Punk on NXT. There you go.
I think that's a waste of CM Punk. But all right.
Why? Put him up against AEW. Put him in the creative process that's not the Raw and SmackDown creative process. That's what he hated, the Raw and SmackDown creative process. Put him on Wednesdays.
Yeah. So yeah, that's about it.
We done?
Good night.
Yeah, Justin, you want to wrap it up?
All right. Waiting for the cue. Give me a glorious plug to end the night.
That's a sweet jacket.
You're being sarcastic, aren't you?
A little bit.
I got a little plug, but we got tons of interviews from StarCast from AEW this past weekend. We got this media scrum with Chris Jericho on our YouTube. We got interviews with Orange Cassidy, Earl Hebner, just tons of guys. So check it out on our YouTube, on the website.
All right, he is at BP Matt Morgan on all the social media. Matt, happy Monday. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Get some rest. We'll be back on Wednesday night after NXT and AEW. I'm at Justin LaBar on social media. Make sure you stick it with WrestlingInc.com. Make sure you favorite, bookmark it, all that good stuff. We have news every single day, and we'll be back Wednesday night.
Dude, you sent away for that jacket from Frost.